What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so if you watched my last video, I was wrong. We're talking about DOGE and the ATF, as a matter of fact, and they're coming together. Oh, this is going to be great, y'all. Check this out. This is going to be lovely. DOGE gets the green light to slash gun regulations at ATF. I love how they say slashing gun regulations, right? Like, I made a video the other day talking about cans, right? Suppressors. And a lot of people commented, you know, I made a off-the-cuff remark about, oh, they're expanding our gun rights. And I had a ton of comments saying, well, they're not really expanding our gun rights. We're just getting some of our gun rights back. And they're totally right about this. And that trend continues, folks. Hopefully, DOGE comes in and cuts some of these nonsense regulations around guns, because we've had many decades that they've been slowly chipping away at our gun rights, folks, and we need to get those back. We need to get all our, you know, they need to repeal the NFA, the National Firearms Act. Abso-freaking-lutely need to repeal that, in my opinion. If you want to put some restrictions on it, hey, maybe we could have a discussion about that, but we don't need many restrictions at all. Like, it's not once again, it's not the gun that's dangerous. It's the person behind the gun that is dangerous. The Democrats, anytime there's one of these mass shootings, they love to go after the guns. Well, how come they do not go after Ford or Chevy anytime there's somebody that runs a bunch of people over? Because it's nonsensical. And it's the same thing with guns. It's just ridiculous. It really is. But let's go ahead and get into this right quick. And by the way, if you look at the headline, it's Gizmodo, so this is going to be just heavily biased. It's not even really biased. It's beyond bias, if you will. It's just nonsensical drivel. But facts are sprinkled out throughout this thing, so let's get into it and see what's going on here. Elon Musk may be out of the picture, but the Department of Government Efficiency is still around and being deployed to terrorize the public servants at agencies across the federal government. The latest target, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, where DOGE will be tasked with slashing gun regulations, according to the Washington Post. I love how they just give an out for this. Oh, according to the Washington Post. They said it, not us, so please don't sue us. DOGE staff, those who are left, at least, seeing as high-profile figures like Big Balls have tapped out of the operation, are reportedly being sent into the ATF with the goal of cutting or revising 47 gun regulations. That goal is apparently a reference to Trump being the 47th president of the United States, though the Washington Post reported that they are likely to blow past that figure and change more than 50 existing rules. More than 50, huh? Maybe it should be a lot more than that. Once again, maybe we should go ahead and lobby Congress to repeal the NFA. Hey, I'm just saying. That's it. No respect for regulations or symbolism. What? Yeah, that's a sentence, by the way. No respect for regulations or symbolism. What? Okay, Gizmodo. You got me on that one. I'm stumped. I don't know what you mean. They have also been given a deadline of accomplishing this by July 4th, because nothing would be a better gift to America for her birthday than easier access to firearms. Yes, exactly. I'm glad you agree, Gizmodo. I'm glad you agree. So glad you agree, because I know there's probably millions of Americans that totally agree with that. We do need more access to firearms. Abso-freaking-lutely, because a lot of crimes that happen that involve firearms probably would not happen, like home invasions and things of that nature probably would not happen nearly as often if the crooks believed that the household that they're about to go into was strapped to the freaking teeth, right? If they were in fear of being shot themselves, they probably wouldn't go into that house. You know, there's a fascinating statistic out there, and I don't remember the exact number, but it is 90-something% of all mass shootings take place in gun-free zones. That is a fascinating and shocking statistic, if you ask me, because that just goes to prove that these red flag laws, the background checks and all of this, the gun-free zones, all of these little micro regulations around firearms just don't work for criminals. You could make all the laws you want. Once again, folks, you could ban firearms outright. You could absolutely ban firearms tomorrow and then go and have an ATF just go throughout the whole country and take every single registered firearm off the streets. And you would still have, as a matter of fact, home invasions and robberies would probably increase, because now all the crooks that have guns, that have illegal guns, now they know that nobody is armed at all, and they would have zero problem with invading somebody's home because they know there's not going to be any resistance that could hold a candle to having a gun on you. It's just mind-blowing. Criminals don't care about laws. They don't respect laws. That's why they are criminals. Once again, like I said, you can make up all the laws you want to. The criminal is not going to follow those laws. It's just mind-blowing what lawmakers think. And it's acts of desperation. Anytime there's one of these mass shootings, Democrats come out, we got to do something with gun violence, blah, 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 blah. It's just an act of desperation because they want to signal their virtues to you. They want to make you believe that they are working on behalf of your safety when that could not be further from the truth. All they are doing is trying to mask the fact that they want to take your rights away from you. And it's all under the guise of your safety. Once again, folks, that goes back to that whole liberty police state thing we were talking about in one of my other videos, where, you got liberty, you got full-on liberty, but, you have all kinds of security violations, your national security, that is. But then you don't want to live in a police state either. It's a quandary. There's a good balance that we can find to where, the citizenry gets their liberty for the most part, and the security apparatus can still function and still keep everybody safe. There's a good balance in there, and I think that balance is starting to tip back in the other direction with stories like this, the suppressor story that I covered the other day. Getting our gun rights back, that is paramount. That is the Second Amendment for a reason. Let's keep going, though. Just from a process standpoint, it's always a good start with an arbitrary number and go looking to make cuts solely to meet that quota rather than because something actually needs changing. That's just smart governance. Extremely efficient stuff. I don't know if you can get the hint of sarcasm there, but yeah, I believe they're being sarcastic. As to what those regulations are that will be changed, it's hard to say. The Post noted that the agency enforces hundreds of rules that help to dictate the way that firearms are bought, sold, and used in the country. The report floated the possibility that DOGE may change the rules on what types of guns can be imported and make licensing fees refundable. That would be great. The pseudo-agency, will also reportedly make changes to the mandated 4473 form that gun buyers are required to fill out when purchasing a firearm, and sellers are required to keep in their records to help trace guns. The plan is to cut the form from 7 pages down to 3. How will they do that? By asking fewer questions of the gun buyer, per the Post. Questions that are currently separate that ask things like whether a person has been committed to a mental institution, has been dishonorably discharged from the military, or has used illegal drugs will all get smushed together into a single yes/no question as to whether a person is legally allowed to own a firearm. Now, getting back to that. Now, I have this idea, and let's see if you guys agree with me out there, that, asking somebody these types of questions, especially are you on illicit or illegal drugs, is a violation of your Fifth Amendment rights. Just outright. It really is, because you would have to incriminate yourself to do so, right? Like, there may not be any charges that come from that, but if you lie about it, then there will be. So you would be incriminating yourself, violating your Fifth Amendment rights. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that down in the comments section, because that's how I see this. But also, another side note right quick, that form, the 7-page form or whatever, when you go to fill that out, you only actually fill out the first 3 pages. So the rest of it is for the gun seller to fill out, and government or whatever. But the buyer itself only has to fill out. So what this is going to be doing is going to be reducing paperwork, not only for you, but it'll reduce the paperwork on the gun seller themselves. So this is good news all the way around, if you ask me. When DOGE is unleashed on the ATF's rule book, I wonder why it's not the ATF and E. I mean, why they still call it the ATF if it's the ATF and E? Not sure about that one. Y'all let me know about that one down in the comments too. When DOGE is unleashed on the ATF's rulebook, the Trump administration has been hacking away at the agency's size and purpose. The Department of Justice recently announced plans to cut the number of inspectors on its staff by 2/3, significantly reducing the agency's ability to investigate businesses that sell guns to criminals. That doesn't go as far as other Republicans who have introduced legislation to abolish the agency entirely. Yes, we need to do that. The Constitution still says well-regulated in the Second Amendment, right? Or can DOGE cut that line? No. They're talking about a well-regulated militia. Oh, they forgot that part. But they also said the people have the right. And that shall not be infringed upon. Like, once again, you can't just cherry pick pieces out of the Constitution that's convenient to your talking points here, Gizmodo. Nonsense. This is what Democrats do, folks. And this is what the corporate press does. They just love to manipulate. And they will take every single one of your God-given rights away from you if you do not fight back. And this is why I always say, sign up, become a member, be an active participant in the news. Push back, call your congressman, write them a letter if you've got to. Follow them on X, follow them on social media, and send them messages over and over and over again until they listen to you about issues like this. Like, we want our gun rights back. We have allowed the government to take our gun rights under the guise of our own safety, and that's BS. That is absolute BS. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon. That is the most important language in that. Shall not be infringed upon. And they have been infringed upon a lot, folks. But I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Blows my mind how they kind of try to flip the narrative, right? That's not really what DOGE is supposed to be going after. Of course there's going to be experts. Of course they're going to go over all of this. Of course. But they're also going to figure out ways to cut their funding, to balance their budget, to streamline these processes, to make everything function like a well-oiled machine, for goodness sakes. Now, abolish it? Yeah, you could definitely abolish it. Absorb that department back into the FBI where it used to be, folks. But, like I said, there I go rambling again, right? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. That'd be great. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And sign up, become a member. That would be lovely, y'all. I would love y'all. I'd be your best friend forever if y'all do that. But like I said, y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.